Our first guests on the Connors and Ferris High School Sports Show are two athletic directors here in Monroe County. By way of the newer guy, we'll go with Duey Weimer from Victor. I believe it's your second year as athletic director, right, Duey?
I'm in my third year, actually. Yep.
Oh, last year I just blanked last year out. I wanted to block it out because of the pandemic. And also Patrick Irving joins us from Gates Charlotte. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the program to talk more about what do we need to do to get sports off pause here. The ones somebody told me on Twitter they didn't want me using the words, the term high risk anymore, but sports that aren't playing. What do we need to do to not only try to get a winter season, but maybe ensure that we have the rest of the spring and the fall two season. So I'll start with you, Dewey. What do we need to do? I know that's one thing I don't think we talked a lot about last week, but how can we change this?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks Jeff and Steve for having us on. Pat and I have been pretty vocal within Monroe County in regards to having plans in place and just wanting to have the opportunity to use those plans. I think both of us are fortunate enough to have upper level administration and superintendents that are supportive of co-curriculars and extracurricular activities. We both had successful falls in terms of following Department of Health guidelines, but really what we want to be able to do is utilize these plans in a way that's going to allow our student athletes an opportunity, a last chance opportunity to put on the uniforms. So we're looking at, and I'll just give you some bullet point items, increasing the amount of times we do temperature checks, both with our coaches and our athletes, potential testing for COVID-19 with our athletes with parent or guardian permission, no spectators. And I think that's something that everybody's willing, including our community and our parents, are willing to concede, that we wouldn't have spectators, especially with shared indoor space, and being able to live stream that. Our personnel areas will expand. So again, without spectators, thinking of basketball, wrestling, ice hockey, we would be able to expand our personnel areas to give them additional space. Continuing to emphasize sanitizing hands and equipment. We're also talking about potential recording of all practice sessions so that if anybody were to have potentially been COVID positive, we would be able to trace that person during a practice and to minimize the number of quarantine issues. And then also just program or sport-specific gear. Hockey is utilizing right now during our OTAs or organized team activities, masks that actually adhere directly to their helmets so that we could ensure that it's covering their nose and their chin.
Those are some bases that are covered, Steve. Patrick, did he leave you anything?
No, Dewey did a great job really highlighting what we could do to get our winter sports that are on pause right now going. To answer your question and to build upon what Dewey said, we need to continue to advocate. We're not the only athletic administrators that are becoming vocal. There's a lot of our colleagues that are doing the exact same thing around the state, as well as superintendents that are becoming vocal. Parent groups are becoming vocal. You see state senators and assembly members doing the same thing. We need to highlight the importance of school-based athletics across the state, so that people understand that this is important. And I think I speak for Dewey and our league in Section 5 when I say no one is asking to just open athletics without any concern for the pandemic or any of the issues that we're living with right now. But we feel we can do it safely. And not only would it be a benefit to our kids for the actual competition and being physically engaged, but the mental health that goes along with it. I was thinking about it today. It's not just our student athletes that need athletics as well too. It is our community. It's our athletic administrators. Our jobs have really evolved since the pandemic hit. I know I do a lot of stuff around PPE in our district and daily health assessments, and I know a lot of other athletic administrators are asked to do that. I'd love to be spending late nights at basketball games, Saturday, cheer competitions, ice hockey on the week. I'd love to be doing that, and I know our kids would too.
What's the biggest obstacle that you think we all face in getting the return to play?
Well, I think the initial hurdle that we all faced was just getting the message across and for everybody to understand that we do have a plan And I think now that the data from states that are all around New York is coming out, and it's proving that we're able to participate, and I'll use the word high risk, able to participate in Department of Health labeled high risk programs. So now that we've got the message rolling, we just need to have the decision makers to be able to give us this opportunity. And this framework of allowing sections, even conferences and schools and families, giving them the opportunity to make the decision and to be able to weigh what's most beneficial for them. And Pat hit it on the head. I'm seeing kids who are struggling academically right now because athletics was the main reason why they were coming to school. It's not the only reason, but it was an opportunity for them to participate in something greater than just the academic side of it. I will also say that, something that I've experienced and Pat probably has as well is, just the inconsistency of, different municipalities and Department of Health from county to county. We would just love to see a very consistent enforcement of Department of Health rules and guidelines. We'd also love to see that all the energy that we're putting forth is in regards to our student athletes and just giving the tools to our coaches to be able to demonstrate good behavior, best practices, and how to approach COVID-19 and this pandemic.
Hearing all that you guys have done, it's impressive. It is, and I'm glad to see that you're all so really prepared. Is there any outline that you've been able to somehow submit to the state? I mean, some of the stuff about is brilliant to me. If you record practices, you have those that's like built-in contact tracing right there. I don't think any parent at this point would not subject their kid to more testing that's going to get them back on the court or on the ice or whatever it may be, or on the wrestling mat. So have you been able to get this down on paper and submitted somewhere to the state level? Can Dr. Zayas help out in that regard? We talked last week about how no one has an inside route to Governor Cuomo, but what's the status of that? Because I think if you look at just saying it was impressive, if you looked at it in an outline, it looked probably even more impressive.
Yeah, I'll start there. I do agree. Dr. Zayas is our biggest advocate with NYSFA. Continuing, I know I've spoken with him. I'm sure Duey has, as well as other athletic administrators, really sharing with him what we can do, and the task force that came together to put the initial guidelines. And I think as we advocate and we look at those guidelines that originally came out, the updates happened months ago, and I feel as if we're light years ahead of where we were. We're obviously not in the clear. We're obviously still in a pandemic, but I think that as we continue to advocate through the New York State Public High School Athletic Administrators Association's office, we should continue to share these ideas so that they can hopefully get to the approvers.
Yeah, we had a good conversation yesterday, and a phrase that you used was equity in athletics, because some people are playing some sports, some places, whether they be high school or club. And I know that you used that as a hashtag in a couple of your tweets. Yeah. What does equity in athletics mean to you?
And I appreciate the question, Steve. I think it's really important. I've been vocal, as others have, that, make no mistake, that high-risk sports are being played in our area. They're being played across the state. And I'm happy. I'm glad kids are competing. But that hashtag and what that's really meant is, if you can pay for athletics, you can play athletics right now. And that's not available to all students, not all student athletes. So I really feel there's an inequity, and kids are being boxed out from participating. Now, a lot of these sports are happening with club and private teams, and school-based athletics have done a great job collaborating with them in the past and coexisting, and we'll continue to do that. And I think that's important, but I feel there should be equity between your school-based clubs and your private clubs, because you're really putting families and kids in a precarious place when they're able to do something somewhere and then they're not able to with their team. And you saw that in the spring, you saw that through the summer, and you saw that in the fall, where some of our guidelines, families would come to us, and I'm sure Duey experienced the exact same thing. And they'd say, why do we have to wear a mask? Why can't we have my whole family come? Why is senior night so different than it always has been? And while they're traveling throughout the country, really competing, that's the equity in athletics that we're asking for. Your ability to pay for sports shouldn't determine your ability to participate in sports. And that's where school-based athletics really come in.
We're talking with Duey Weimer from Victor and Patrick Irving from Gates Charlotte, two local athletic directors. And, I don't know what's next. I don't know what the timetable is. I know I'm getting worried. I'm hoping there's going to be some sort of movement before February to try to salvage some sort of winter season. Do you folks have schedules ready to go? For different sports that you could kind of, okay, we're ready to go. Has that been done? Has a normal schedule been planned out? If we have 4, 8, 10 games available, how about that? Because I know that would take a couple of days to put together for sure, at least. Duey, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I'm the acting chairman for the Section 5 Power Schedule Committee. So I actually work with a group in regards to setting up that schedule. We created a schedule based off of a January 4th start date, and we utilize a waterfall postponement system. So as soon as a date passes, we move that block to the end of the season. We're utilizing Sundays. So if we were to have a let's say February 1st, first practice date, we would still have 9 ice hockey contests before March 1st. So we have plans in place. Obviously, we're sensitive to the fall 2 season because they're still postponed and potentially playing on March 1st, and super sensitive to the spring sports who've already been canceled. But speaking on behalf of ice hockey, plan is in place. We're still trying to maintain all of our contests. We're just waiting from the powers that be to give us the date that we can begin. Our health offices are ready to go. I've had several conversations with them in regards to recertification of our athletes. We're going to bring in substitute nurses to make sure everybody gets recertified. So we're ready to go.
And I would just add, for our league, I'm the liaison for boys basketball. We have the same block schedules ready to go. We just need the first date. And then we would get our minimum practices in, and those schedules would already be filled.
How many different variables are built in? Because so many things have changed. If the state committee, I think the executive committee meets on February 3rd. If nothing happens until then, will there still be an ability to react and adjust and provide if the opportunity arises?
Yeah, I think everybody's willing to bend. I think no matter what, if we're given a date, and again, it comes down to individual school decisions. If a school is ready to go, I think different conferences are ready to allow this to happen. And we're all in the same position right now that we all want this to occur. I think the advocacy has been great because it's brought a lot of the conversation to the forefront. But we're just waiting for a decision. Being in limbo has been the worst. It feels like fall 1 all over again, where we're just waiting to hear. And when we finally heard that, okay, football and volleyball and cheerleading is going to be pushed to March, it was a relief. And it released a lot of stress because now we can begin to prepare for that season. Again,
you could manage the sports you did have going. It was probably an easier lift because you didn't have the football to worry about. It's a big deal, obviously. So I think you all deserve a chance. That's the thing. I feel like this is kind of these sports are kind of like the ignored child right now that's been stuck in the corner, and we're just everyone's ignoring it. And to see what's going, hasn't really changed it, flipped it for me, is to see what's going on around the rest of the country, and to not think that we're not getting a fair shake here. You all see it. There's certain fools on Twitter that you can't do it. People are dying. We know people are dying. But if you look around the country and look at the studies that have been done and the results happening, it's not the case. It can be done safely. I talked to basketball coaches that say, my kids will wear masks to play basketball right now. So Jeff, I really admire what you guys are doing.
Jeff, you mentioned demonstrating it. I feel here in Section 5, we've demonstrated that we can bring athletics back safely through the fall. I just left a bowling match about an hour ago and a mod swim meet. The kids are bought in. The families understand. They're willing to do anything to have their sport happen. And it's just unfortunate that, like Dewey said, we're in limbo right now. It makes it harder with every day going by, but if we have a date, we can get the winter season in. Obviously, the sooner we know, the more we can get in. But all we need is that date. We just need the powers that be to say so.
Well, guys, Steve, anything else you want to offer?
Oh, I really appreciate the time and the insight and the dedication, because what's the number? 189,000 kids in New York State right now are not playing their sport. I mean, you think about that. That's almost the whole city of Rochester in a raw number, if you were to look at that. And, I just hope that all these efforts being made by you and so many other people across the state bring about the result that gets these athletes back on the field.
My daughter's 7, so I can't relate, but I know Steve's son graduated a couple years ago and had made some really great memories as a high school athlete his last couple seasons. I know I look at guys in this room right here. I know I have memories I'll never forget from it. So to think that these kids could go through a second season without this opportunity, really, it's really sad. And again, like I said, it's you guys have put in the work, and we all hope that you get a chance to show everybody what you've done. So, Patrick, thanks for your time today.
Oh, of course. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having us on.
Duey, Weimer, our first real conversation. We've never met each other three-dimensionally, I don't think yet, but look forward to that.
In passing. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks, guys. We'll take our first break, come back. As we do that, Steve, why don't we tell our folks about Bassfitter, a local company supporting local people, 617-0007, folks. If you want to remake your bathroom in one day, they can do it. In one weekend or one day, a new bathroom. Check them out online, bassfitter.com. We appreciate their support. Support local now more than ever before, folks. We need it. You're listening to the Cosmo Ferris High School Sports Show, brought to you by Salvador Pizza on Fox Sports 1280.